Hey folks, Joe here to view. No news video today as such. We're going to crack on and get straight into a match preview as there hasn't been a whole lot to talk about. In terms of injuries coming into this game, some interesting ones, and interested to see people's take on this. 2 injuries coming into the game tomorrow against Middlesbrough. Joe Gallagher has picked up a slight hip problem. Daniel Farke hasn't said whether that's a serious injury or how long he will be out for, but he will miss Sunday. Also, Junior Firpo is expected to miss up to 3 weeks with a hamstring problem that he picked up after his cameo appearance during the week as well. Second hip injury, for hamstring problem for him as well. How do we feel about this? This is another injury for a player who's barely kicked the ball for Leeds this season and will now miss the bulk of December and then try and get back up to full fitness again. It's probably likely that he will be out until the new year. My personal take, I think Leeds need to go and buy a left back. Just be done with it. I think at this stage, Junior's body isn't as reliable as it should be for Leeds right now, and that's a problem for our area. On the situation around influence on the pitch, he was talking about the older players and lack of game time they're getting at the moment and what impact they can have on the team outside of playing. And he talked about Ayling, Cooper and Dallas, and he said first things first, it's worth pointing out these are very good footballers. He said Luke Ayling's been important for us this year, scored an important goal as well. Liam Cooper has been involved in some important clean sheets for the team as well, and Stuart Dallas is a very, very good player and a very important, influential player that he just needs to focus on getting back to playing. He said we have a very young side here, so having experience in that dressing room is very, very important. And he went on to say that it's important to keep the younger players focused, that when it's going well, that they know to focus, and when it's not going well and they have setbacks, that they know how to recover from those setbacks, and the experienced players can give them that. He said if you're a smart young player, you listen and you get better. And he said it's not always from the manager you learn. He learned an awful lot more from some of the players he played with. So it's important for young players to listen to the experience around them, and then when, not enjoy it too much when it's going well, and then not be too down when it's not going well, and knowing the balance between the two and how to react to situations. Asked about sharing of goals, talking about Joe Pirot, Dan James, Chris Somerville and Georgina Rutter sharing the goals this season. He said, look, the most important thing is that we're scoring goals, and that's the number one thing. He went on to point out that earlier this season he said that if we have a goal scorer, a single striker who scores 35 goals in a season, great, he scores 35 goals in a season, but that doesn't mean we score any more than 35 goals. Having a spread of goals across the attacking team and on its own, outside of defensive players, he said, is very important as well, because that gives us more goals all up. He said that he does expect us to start scoring more goals from defenders. He talked about the set piece. We've seen Pascal Struijk miss some pretty easy headers over the last couple of weeks as well. Not a criticism, just a fact. And he's pointed out that we're going to need to see them chip it in with goals. There's going to be games where we're going to need a set piece or something to break down a team, and that these players are going to chip in with goals as well. And he said it's important that they do that as well. Asked about when it's right to attack and when not right to attack. I think this was about when he shouted at Junior Firpo for bombing forward towards the middle, the end of the game midweek. And he's now saying, well, look, it's important to know when you go forward, important to know when not to go forward. He said that it's important to not get overexcited. You can't do everything at a million miles an hour. You've got to be able to balance it as well. But he said it's also important that we know not to fall asleep in games, and we need to keep going. But it's important to get the tempo right. We've talked a huge amount in recent weeks in the podcast as well. Max has done some stuff over in Leeds lately as well about how important tempo is to this team, and that it's not strategic, it's not tactical, it's tempo. And when Leeds play at a high tempo, Leeds look fantastic. When Leeds play at a slow tempo, they look less effective, as they have been when they're at the faster tempo. So he's pointing to that as well. I think he sees it as well. He commented after the game on Wednesday night as well, where he said, we could have got more goals, we could have kept going, we should have kept going. So, and then at the same time he's calling players back for running up and down the pitch too much. So there's a balance in there. I think he's trying to strike that balance and say when and where we should do it. Asked about the young players in the squad, and obviously is there any young leaders in the squad? Leadership seems to be a theme of the press conference today, but he was asked about it anyway, and he said it's not all about age, it's about talent. He said that we want to have leaders on the pitch, and he said we have lots of senior players who do this, and he said it's important the younger players know when and where to question things. He said if Luke Ayling tells you something on the pitch, Luke Ayling is correct. Even if he's not correct, he's correct in that instance, and that we'll talk about it afterwards when we come off the pitch, but that it's not discussed on the pitch and we get past that there. He said everyone needs to chip in, and he said but not every player is a leader. Some players will just go in and do their jobs, and that's fine. Other players can step up, and he said we want more and more players, and they've got young players. Strokes been mentioned that as well. There's younger players in that group who know the club quite well. Jimmy Shackleton tends to be quite vocal when you see him on the pitch as well, so there's some good young players there. He moved on to talk about Sam Greenwood and any regret over Sam Greenwood's loan exit and the option to move away from Leeds in the summer, and given that Sam Greenwood is on a rich vein of form at the moment. And Daniel Farke said he is happy for Sam, and he's happy for the progression that he's making since his loan. And he said he's putting some good performances, and he is doing well. But he said when you look at loaning a player out, you look at loaning him out for two reasons. One, is they get lots of game time. They have a really good loan spell. They score goals, they get assists, they come back and they're a better player. The other side is you increase their transfer value. Have a good loan, they can maybe sell them on. He said it was a tight call for Sam, and he said unfortunately he was probably unlucky with the injury that he picked up in pre-season. That meant that he missed the bulk of pre-season and fell behind several players who were competing for that position, like Joe Pirro, like Chris Somerville, like Willie Gnonto, like Dan James, like Georgina Rutter. It's a big list of players to fall behind. He said he has an incredible set of skills. He's a very skillful player, and he said he's got some great moments. He said especially his set pieces. He said if you look at his set pieces, even for in the Leeds team, he's probably the standout player for set pieces within that group. But he said we're not playing NFL here. We can't just bring on a special team and we got a set pieces. They've got to be able to do all of the jobs all of the time. And he said that Sam is starting to get to that. He said he would have kept Sam if it could just be a set piece team, but there's more to it as well. But he said he has improved. He is playing more and more games. He said he's not making impact in every game. He's not started every game. He is still coming off the bench, and then what he needs to get to is taking 5 or 6 games to get going, you said, but what he needs to get to is starting games on a regular basis and playing 90 minutes all the time, and that is establishing himself as a permanent player in that team, and that will deliver a product as well, he said. But he's delighted he's shipping in with some goals against teams that will impact Leeds positions, League, Leicester being a prime example, and that how that's actually kind of working out quite beneficial for Leeds right now. It's helping Leeds. I mean, Sam Greenwood was the guy that got the goal that dropped the points off Leicester, and if he hadn't been at Middlesbrough, would that have happened? That's the question. But he said we're not thinking selfish here. We're thinking about ourselves to a degree, but we're also thinking about the players and the players' development. And if they're going to get better, if they're going to play, we've got to think about the player and let them go and play minutes. And he said he's done that. He's very, very happy for him. He's playing very, very, very well. He said on Michael Skubala, any plans on replacing Michael Skubala? Where are you with the plans there? Or is it going to be a case of Scott Gardner's going to run this going forward? He said they're in absolutely no rush with this. He said Scott Gardner is doing a fine job. It's the next step for him and his development as a coach, and he said everything there is working fine. Key things to take away from this game, this breakdown, are going to be the injuries again to Junior Firpo, and what do Leeds do with that left back position? You've got your only out and out left back is injured all the time, and Leeds are going to have to make a decision. The fact that it's happening in December might force Leeds' hands to actually go and pull the plug and do it in January, go get a left back, and it's be done with this kind of messing around. And then Junior Firpo can take his loan to buy move over to Betis if he wants. Then he can move on as well. Whatever happens. But that's it. That's pretty much it for me today, folks. And not a full match preview. Just timing this week's has been poor, but I wanted to get something out so we had something to talk about. Big game tomorrow. I think we win it. But I think it's tight. I think it's 2-0 Leeds, or 2-1 Leeds. Although we're due a clean sheet, so I'm going to go for 2-0 win. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to know what your opinions on the game are. Danny Farke did also say during the press conference that he's hopeful that Sam Greenwood won't play against Leeds and won't score against Leeds. I don't think anyone's explained the loan rule to Daniel Farke just yet, and that Sam Greenwood can't play against us. At least I hope the normal clause is in that contract, the special contract clause where Sam Greenwood can play against Leeds. I don't think he can, but anyway, it was an interesting point. That's going to be for me, folks. I will see you over the weekend for some form of a review. I'm back on Monday for more Leeds news. Have a great weekend. Fingers crossed for 3 points. Talk to you soon. Bye.